Hi, folks. Nick Tockert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Pardon my slight delay. As soon as I signed on, my net dropped out, so we had to go through the whole song and dance. Before we get into it, I want to thank some folks. The Historical Fencing Guild is made possible with the love and support of our good friends over at the Independent Creator Directory, your one-stop shop for the best and the brightest authors, artists, and other creatives. We are also made possible by sales of the Simple Sword, the Fighting Axe, and the Simple Spear, all part of my ongoing series of Western martial arts manuals designed to take you from having never handled the sword to teaching the art to others, as well as my sworded games. But most importantly, we are made possible by Stuart. Yes, Stuart helps make this possible. Yes, Stuart the Sword Cat. Yes. Okay. Are we okay? Okay. But my wonderful patrons, Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Bladed Thesis, Brian Carey Morris, Cindy Kep, Steve Augusta, Don Dulos, and Angelina the Cara Link. You are all amazing people, and with your funds, I can afford to review things and help teach people and set up the gear. And I am in the period of time where I save up the funds, because I know in the spring I'm going to be spending them. We haven't seen the new for 2025 releases yet of assorted gear, so I'm just letting that all settle. It's just the time of year where everybody has to get rolling again before we can have the new equipment, the new reveals. Everybody's got to recover from the holidays, and frankly, I think because this is an inauguration year, a lot of people are kind of holding off till after the 20th to make a lot of big financial decisions. And that's okay, isn't it, Stuart? Okay, now, you'll notice it is much brighter in here than last time because, can you go down? I like to talk with my hands. Okay, good boy, Stuart. Anyway, he's going to be coming right across over here any minute now. He'll get a wild hair up. But I have some people have sent me some questions they wanted answered. I am open for questions today. So I will be doing a class, start the year with an Ask Me Anything and a bit of an announcement, because I was trying to decide if I was going to do this secretly or if I was going to discuss it more publicly, and I had to think about it. As you guys know, I am in the middle of some pretty hefty physical challenges. And that is not something that is easy for me. And it is not, obviously, it is proving a lot of pain and a lot of general difficulty. But as I am going to be starting my physical therapy next month, I had to get delayed. Yay. I've been offered a request, a challenge, if you were, to see if I could essentially authorize for the U.S. FA, which is the United States Fencing Association, that being collegiate fencing, specifically in foil, I might add. I find that very interesting because the challenge was issued by Rex Allen Hood. Now, what does that mean to me? It means I have two diverse and divergent paths, and I need to look down both of them. When I get to speak to my physical therapist and my medical professional, just like I tell you guys, I will see what they have to say about that as something, if it's feasible, if it's doable or not. It gives me a best outcome and a worst outcome. Now, the specific event that was referenced was in November. Well, last year. It should be in November this year, which means, my friends, I may have to do something I've specifically avoided and that's consider learning the pistol grip for foil. Now, when I speak of a pistol grip, I am not saying bang bang. It is an ergonomic grip that allows for wrist-based motions. I'm not sure how that will work with my conditions. I've barely handled them, and it is going literally 90 degrees or just about from 20 plus years, going on 30 years of training, 20 years of teaching, did a whole bunch of little style things, and all of it very fencery there. Being French grip. So this is something I have to think about. It also means me getting an entire new set of electric compatible gear. We will see. I've decided I'm going to be honest and open about this because this lets me give the most real support to you guys. Now, I have to go back over the game, get back into right of way, a whole bunch of other things. If I could get the facilities in order, probably in the spring, Al has offered to come out. He's offered to give lectures and possibly programs on this program concerning collegiate fencing. And as Al is undeniably versed in the subject at this point, I will be deferring to him possibly in the spring as his schedule allows, if there proves interest to you, my dear viewers, because this is more of a historical fencing channel, and I am more of a historical fencer. But at a low level, I may be able to do the standard. I may be able to look into the I think it's called parafencing, or for people with disabilities. I'm not sure yet. It's something I am looking into. The lead thing being the extreme low weight of a foil compared to what I'm used to fighting with should mean it would be much less taxing on my nerve and joint issues. So that's part of what's going on. This would be the other conversations ahead of the Ask Me Anything. I also want to put the caveat, we do have a rather elaborate, substantial, I wouldn't say substantial, I'd say elaborate, winter storm going on right now. As anyone who's watched my channel knows, that can easily knock me off the channel at basically any point. And if that's the case, I will do my best to get back in and shut the stream down after, but give it a few moments. Unfortunately, Joe is not available to be my producer tonight. So we'll go with that. We also have, like I said, we have questions. So I'm going to hit the comments pretty soon. We have, I have some pre-submitted questions I have to answer that people have been asking about. And I'd like to go from there. So first I'm going to go through your comments because your comments mean a lot to me. And then we're going to go into your, any questions you have, and I will go over the questions that were submitted to me. Beyond that, I'm slowly digging out space behind me and fixing at least this area, so I should be able to have more room to do demonstrations. I may have to shout a little bit because I'll be over there instead of right here by my beloved mic, but we can make something work. Okay? All right, so with that, I'm going to put this mint in because, frankly, I feel like my breath might not be where I want it. Nah. I need that. I need to cut that out so it can't disturb me. And I will need to do one other thing, but I can take care of that in a bit because I got up on time today. So let's hit your comments, and then I may have to actually run a brief commercial, but it'll probably be for the IndieCD because they allow the production of this. We're joined by Sarah. Sarah, hello, Sarah. I'm always pleased to have you in my chats. We have greetings. Hi, Dusty. Yes, I'm working. And we have greetings, and Thesis is greeting everyone. And hello, Dusty. Okay, Dusty. Yes. Okay. And we have Dusty. Please don't flash your butt at the screen all the time. Here we go. Let's see. Just found out that starting tonight, we're supposed to get 12 to 15 inches of snow. It was raining on Christmas and into New Year's. Welcome to the Midwest. Absolutely. We are being hammered by that right now. And, hi, cat. I may have to... Yes, hello. You're a good cat. At least you guys are getting feline entertainment, huh, Dusty? Did you get jealous because Stuart was on screen? Anyway, or are you just hiding from Xander? Yes, sir, you are a very large cat. You really? Yes, okay. Now where are we going? Okay. Yes, you're purring loudly. Okay. You want to do biscuits on my back? Sure. We can work with that. Okay. But yes, we are kind of having a delayed Christmas. I may watch some Christmas movies after the stream. I'm not real sure. An evening, staying in. Absolutely. Storm's looking nasty. Yeah, I'm in the thickest of it. Charleston, Mattoon, Illinois. Probably right to be advising me of that. I may go outside and shovel snow for a workout. And I'm not the most graceful. You need to be careful with shoveling snow. Yes, now where are you going? You cannot go down on my keyboard. If you wish to type messages to me, we can arrange something, but we are not going to do that live, sir. And which reminds me to find out where the snow shovel is. Indeed. I know where mine are. Inaccessible at the moment. It's going to be colorful. And Nicholas and Kitty. Cat demands attention over show. They always do. Hello, Cindy Cat. How are you? I'm so proud of Cindy's martial arts journey. And Cindy is, of course, promoting my books, where you can find them, Mr. Nicholas Anthony Talker. And then tune in to the Historical Fencing Guild tonight. And this is where you can find the channel. And there's Sarah saying hi. And there's my art. Lamo, Dusty. Hello, Ruby. How are you? So, to answer the submitted questions that came to me. First, I was asked by a prospective student, how long does it take for somebody to get good? To be able to sword fight. And that's a complex question, but I will break it down for the newer folks. I was 12 years in a group called the Society for Creative Anachronism. I spent the vast majority of my time working with new people, teaching them to learn the basics. And I would say with someone of moderate to reasonable health and Ruby, are you the Ruby that knows Kitty, by the way? Because I recognize that name. Yes, she's interested in learning but doesn't know where to start, so I suggest you come here and ask. Please ask away. That being said, there was a set of rules and a set of capabilities people had to have. And within about 6 months, if they did their homework and, weekly practices, 6 months. 2 months. I could get them authorized, which means they would be safe and capable. Within 6 months, they should be dang good. But it may take longer with different physical limitations. All right, Ruby, it's okay not to know what to ask. That's fine. You don't even have to, I do this every Friday at 8 p.m. my time. So whatever the last hour was for you, because there are a lot of time zones involved, I will be doing this for about an hour. Sometimes I run later. I also run a morning show on the other channel, the Nicholas Tucker channel, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Wednesday show is largely an art program. Enough self-promotion. But that being said, getting all the way back, and I would say that is with single rapier. And that is a long end on the times. I can do shorter when people have aptitude, but I really do prefer to give time to have somebody be much more comfortable and versed before I would put them in front of a marshal. Now, I have not, I've left that organization, and I focus entirely on my own organization, the Historical Fencing Guild, where I teach and I work with people of diverse and, it's just after 5 for you. Thank you, Ruby. Diverse and varied groups. So you'll get collegiate fencers, Eastern martial artists, heavy fighters from the SCA. I know some bow hurt people, amp guard, LARPies. There are a lot of options, but I built the guild originally to be a Rosetta Stone so that people could workshop the intellectual side of things, being talk about manuals, talk about what books work, what gear, fine-tune mental approaches, as well as building up towards your physical stuff. So, because when you have a practice and you have martial artists, and it does not matter what type of martial artist, there is always a desire to get right into it. They want to spar. It's natural. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, I had to make a request. But sorry, I got distracted. But
wow. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. I'm going to run just a brief commercial, and I will be right. Oh, I can't run commercials because they aren't on here. Okay. Anyway, I'll deal with this another way. Now, my background is a little weird though, because my whole background, I've worked with what the nicest way to put it is non-standard students, and working with non-standard students are people with disabilities, physical limitations, people with mental interference, traumas. So I've worked with a lot of women. I would say well over 80% of my students have been women, because it's very easy to find an entry point for healthy, usually tall men into the fields of martial arts. For women, it can be a little challenging. Now, Ruby says, because, oh, that's fine. What sort of martial shenanigans are you into? Cindy, and so starting tomorrow, Cindy Cap says, I'm learning the dual saber side of dual saber versus spear form. The saber form I'm learning for class is coming along. I almost have the moves mapped. Then I need to tidy it up. And some of those choreographed fight moves are very, very strenuous. It's very impressive. My wife has done much more choreographed stuff than I have because she was part of a live steel group for a time. However, the I have done a little bit, and I've worked with some small theater productions and things to choreograph. I find that the Chinese forms fascinating because my mind doesn't work in katas usually. Up until a few months ago, I never even held a sword or any other weapon for that matter. That's fine. I want to tell you something. It's very important that martial arts are for everybody. I am passionate that all art should be available to all people. And that includes visual arts, that's literary arts, that's your musical arts, and your martial arts. I see them all as the same thing. At on one level, it is a natural expression of the human condition. That being said, it can be very intimidating. And the first thing you should need to know, excuse me, while I was fighting the computer, I didn't get my evening meds, is that it is for you if you want it. Now, I'll never do anything to force anyone into anything, but I do believe that the path of learning martial arts can do wonders for somebody who has, and I've seen it, lost, maybe you've lost control in your life, or you're facing the concern of a loss of control. A lot of people are right now. I took it up. Well, I'm sorry, I just had to get those meds in. I'm diabetic, so I have to do some things. But I find that working through building your perception, building your ability to address threats helps people regain power. And I remember where I was saying, I came into specifically historical fencing in a more formal mindset because I had gone through a lot of trauma myself. I had endured rather substantial violence, the effects of which I still feel to this day. And I wanted control. I didn't want power. I didn't want to. I wanted to control because at that point I was rather angry. In fact, I was a very angry person. I didn't manifest it much. I didn't show it outwardly. Most of the time I was a happy, jovial, outward person, but internally carrying that much damage can make someone angry and scared. And I wanted not just to learn to control the sword, but to harness and focus and control that aspect. Because it's natural to be angry about just things. It's natural to feel betrayed or weak or scared and want to do something about it. Now, I first started studying the sword much younger, and that was simply because I was exposed early on to the old Zorro movies and D&D. And I wanted to learn how to do a lot of what my characters could do, and I kind of wanted to be a bit more like Zorro. And then, of course, Captain Jack Sparrow and a whole bunch of other really great characters came around. But, it will always be Zorro for me, which is why I'm a saber. I'm a fencer with a touch of saberist. I lean toward the rapier. But because of the way I trained and my mentality, I learned to make just about any length or style of weapon go, provided I could hold it. Let's see. I don't like daggers. You have to get too close to use them. I want something that gives me distance. I have some hang-ups. Okay. Due to my past, makes me not like getting close. Spears have a lot of back off in them. Yes, they do. Rapiers can be up to 45 inches long, so it could be a useful thing. Pikes, Pike's 10 foot. My wife has used a 14. We think we have a 10-foot spear, but she's used 14. So we can make it. She's also a dancer like me with something fast and fluid instead of strong and powerful. We can work with that. We can definitely work with that. Well, yes, you would see a Zorro book in Spanish, given the origin. But that's cool. I'm glad to see that. Now, to get back to your thing, what you're going to want is whatever weapon you choose. If you're looking for a sword-like object, you're going to want something that, okay, sizing a sword. Let me see. Do I have any of my trainers about? Let's see what trainers are laying around. Okay. This is my short rapier, and it needs some love. It really needs some love. Okay. But anyway, this has a 30-inch blade. You will find that it is a little shorter than my center line, so half my wingspan. You don't want any blade longer than that because it becomes very difficult to draw, especially for a newer student. Still, extending your reach by 30 inches is quite formidable. Given that you are a dancer, you don't want, and you said don't want a lot of power, you want something fluid. Now, as I've spoken with Kitty at points, there are a couple ways to go about it. In fact, I at one point, quite some time ago, you can dig through the videos, which you should. You can see people sparring with trainers. We can see me talk about this for, years and years and years. I want to say since 09? Yeah. I want to say it was 09 when I posted my first video. One, you'll see, if you find it, I was working with my friend who had some training in ballet. She'd reached a point in her life where she had put on some weight and she wanted to participate in what we do. And we worked on basically adapting a bit of small sword because she needed something light and fast to some of the more graceful movements of ballet. And that way, her footwork, because when I work with someone, no thesis. You're from what I've heard, your style and approach probably wouldn't work real well for her. It's not varied enough, and yes, small sword. Okay, small swords are actually, this is not far from being the blade of a small sword if it were sharpened. They are very much like an evolution of a rapier. They are lighter and smaller, and they were carried in self-defense around the 1700s. The style is delicate but distant. Now, there are several manuals you can look into for how to do that. I will always recommend my book, The Simple Sword, because I wrote my book, and this is not me plugging it for money's sake. I would never do that. But what I did is I studied dozens and dozens and dozens of different sword manuals. Agrippa, I start Agrippa, Thibault, Marzano, Capoferra, Gigante, Fiore, Fabris, and then looking into things of different Chinese styles, different Russian styles, different Spanish styles, modern fencing, the military manuals, the last sword manual written by George S. Patton, Lieutenant George S. Patton at the time. But and what I did in my approach was look for what they all agreed on. Oh, I have to save this. Give me a moment. I was working on a project. Save. I know I typoed that. That's fine. I can't see that. Give me just a moment. What I will do, move tab to new window, is show you what a small sword is. And I'm picking it because you can learn it lightly. Now, I won't, especially in your case, recommend Olympic fencing, because I think you want something more practical. Am I correct? Do you want something that will give you applicable self-defense skills? Oh, yes. Many of the Chinese styles are very, very elegant. And by all means, you should research them. That's where Thesis's background of identification may help you, even if he is not a practitioner. And if you are going into the Jin, not the best Jin trainer, but it functions. The Jin, I would look up the videos of Dr. Yang Jwing Ming, specifically his Fundamentals of the Sword. There's a DVD you can get. And remember, a lot of these can be interlibrary loaned from different libraries. You can find them online because I believe you are not American, so Canada can get a little funny. But you find that many of these are possibly going to work well for you. Likely the lighter ones, likely the smaller ones, depending on your build. So may I ask a question, if I'm going to do a little bit of Ollivandering, but with swords? How tall are you, Miss Ruby? And I'm setting something up here. Now, we'll do this, and I will share screen. This, we will hit share, so I can bring it there. We'll just start with images. If you want, and yes, many of the sword dances you can find are in can be found in Chinese styles. You may find you like a Dao, which actually Cindy will be very able to discuss, and she may even be showing some of what she's working with. What I often teach, 1.72 meters. Okay. Why do I said 2? 1 second. Okay, so you're 5'5" in the backwards and horrible American imperial systems. Cool. All right. So, assuming that you're proportional, you wouldn't want a blade longer than half of that. So okay. So you don't want you want your blade to be no longer than 85 centimeters. Closer to 5'7". You know what? Here's something that happened, and I know all I know is taller than me. Okay. Well, if we err a little on the short side, that's a little easier anyway. So, but we'll figure 85 centimeters and we can research. Now, small swords, in a little bit of education, are these guys. They evolved from court swords. They were historical everyday carry weapons. And there's a really neat evolution of, let me see, small swords, if I can get this image to come up. But this actually shows a wonderful, oh, it didn't transfer the window. 1 second. I have to do this. Share screen. Entire screen. Here we go. And I can bring this back. Here we go. This is a lovely article on small swords. And we can hide that. But I find that small swords are very attractive to sorry, I'm laughing at Foxy's height joke. To women, depending on, especially who may have limited strength, or people like me who have limited strength, where you can start to get an idea of the weight of them. They give decent hand protection and allow for a keyhole grip. That is very natural for the female fist. So we probably should talk about that. Give me a second. Okay. In one of those abnormal bits of abnormality, I'm on 5% of people who have a female fist on one side and a male fist on the other. A male fist locks in square like this. It's very blocky. It has to do with how the tendons in the arm work. A female fist locks in angular, usually with a bit of protrusion from the index finger. Now, these can both be trained, but it affects how I grip. Now that's fascinating. Most European styles are too brutal for me. Our Lord Jesus Christ says, "Thou shalt not kill. I want protection without killing." Delightful. I have no problem with that, as I actually, though I have trained in the historical styles, I choose to use either a walking stick length or a cane length stick, implementing those styles where it is much, much safer. In that case, what you are looking for is either bow or joe staff or single stick. There are several varieties of single stick. There are several varieties of staff fighting that can be both elegant and light. I would bring you my walking stick. However, I would send my son for it, but he's now gone off to his shower. And the other thing is, this too brutal for me. You're probably seeing more medieval era weapons, but if you are looking for less brutal, what I would go, and that tells me you're also, if you're thinking about the moral price of injuring or killing someone, this is very advanced. This is good. When we discuss that, the philosophy of violence has to be discussed, and the morality, its spiritual and emotional impact. I believe in being fully well-rounded. What you want to learn then is more of a weapon-based self-defense style, And I would say that you need to learn the improvised weapon classes. Uh, that being your 1 meter stick, 2 meter stick, uh, short or tiny weapon. This is going to be your knives. You need to understand how they function, even if you're not using them, because, okay, one second. This is my kitchen knife trainer. I made this kitchen knife trainer many years ago. Actually, I think I covered it rather extensively on this video, on this show. Yes, improvised weapons. Improvised weapons are how do you arm yourself in a situation where you are not naturally carrying a weapon, or how do you carry something that can be used as a weapon? Now, because I have some limitations, I usually walk with a mobility aid. I used to walk with a cane, but I find I prefer walking with a walking stick that is about shoulder length on me, would be considered Joe length in some of the Japanese systems. Given your proclivities, learning to use sticks is a good idea. What I do is, for this type of discussion, it is, and again, I can base everything out of the simple sword. That's kind of how it operates. But this is also kind of in the book I'm writing currently. So it's interesting we're discussing this. Understanding the class of objects around you is part of the self-defense side of what I do. It's far better to first understand how to avoid a threat, recognize it before it's a threat, and get out before you engage it. Forgive me, I am having a hair day and it's annoying. But the knowing how to use things defensively around you can help you stay safe. And the nice thing about that style of training is it doesn't give you false confidence, but it does give you enhanced perception and enhanced options. But most importantly, when I talk about that, which is a bit lengthy, so I may, if people want, I can leave a note and I can talk about that from the subject of self-defense to mitigate harm, but also to use your surroundings, because many times, unfortunately, people rarely attack you in a place where you are perfectly prepared and expecting it. But understanding how a meter stick works, or even half a meter stick, will tell you what kind of movements you need to do to defend yourself with things like dowel rods, toilet paper, not toilet paper, curtain rods for the longer sticks, towel rods in the bathroom, plungers, mops, walking sticks, brooms. Those would all be considered improvised weapons. You also can learn what's called mass weapons. Mass weapons cover, in theory, axes and hammers and things like that. But they also carry, again, anything that has a handle on one end and a weight on the other. There are entire classes of non-lethal weapons. Think of the way Jackie Chan or Sammo Hung fights. They use whatever is around them to fight, but rarely kill. Exactly. And remember, especially my mentality, in a self-defense situation, you have to neutralize the threat. Now, most people get very macho and very puffed up about what that means. You put them down so they say no. No. Because one of the goals of neutralizing a threat is doing it in such a way you do not create another. That means One, at least for American laws, I admit I am not quite certain on the self-defense laws in Canada, and I'm not a lawyer in America, but this is my general understanding. You're supposed to take every opportunity to escape that you can. You want to use the minimum amount of force that you can. This is in line with faith-based values of the Christian and we'll say the Judeo-Christian archetype, because you did say Jesus, and I don't want to presume any farther out of respect for everyone in my audience. But the first steps in learning improvisational weaponry are, and all that from a self-defense standpoint, if that's what you're coming to this for, is you have to learn to understand your body, how it moves. And yes, rope dart, so is Foxy's fans. However, in the case of rope dart, while it is considered an improvised weapon from martial arts standards, it is not in legal statuses. And you have to remember, if you have an engagement, a physical engagement, you may have to deal with law enforcement officers, you may have to deal with lawyers and prosecutors after. And being able to say, I picked up what was available and held him off so I could get away is very different than saying I used X technique with a rope dart that I had, because that means you're carrying it, which makes it look very premeditated. This is the kind of thing we have to think many moves in advance. And when I talk about working with students with this kind of thing, I really cannot stress enough that you want to do minimum damage that will give minimal damage to your situation. That means if you can avoid a conflict, you avoid the conflict. If you could diffuse it, if you could de-escalate it, something sometimes referred to as verbal jujitsu. If you could talk your way out of a situation, that is preferred over any physical altercation. All right, you want to stop. Okay. I want to stop being afraid. I want to be able to go walking at night without looking over my shoulder and jumping at every noise. What that sounds like is something called hypervigilance. Hypervigilance is the result of trauma. You see it in PTSD, things like that. Again, I'm not a mental health provider or anything like that. I'm just speaking from my personal experiences and that of dealing with people who come to me with that kind of trauma. What learning the kind of skills we can talk about, we do in that case, because I suffer from that. I have been assaulted multiple times throughout my youth. I was shot at and missed. I was held up at knife point. I was beaten nearly into a concussion. I was stoned in the biblical sense, as in a mob of people threw objects at me and had me pinned. It was pennies. They thought it was funny. I was set on fire at one point, and I have had one woman and two men at different points attempt to sexually assault me. I talk about this plainly so that to steal the stigma of people who have survived that. What you need to do, though, is, practicing these things when there isn't a threat is best time to yes. What we have here between what Sarah's saying and what Cindy is saying, that while that's admirable, situational awareness is a good thing. What we want to do in the case of dealing with hypervigilance, especially trauma-based hypervigilance, from my experience, not a doctor, is you want to learn to control it and train your mind to take that energy and use it in practical ways. And while you're doing it, it's almost like a ghost hunter show. I know this is a jump, but bear with me. You want to always be debunking in your head, is something good, is something bad, so that whenever that is going on, I'm sorry, that has been happening quite a bit with YouTube. When that's happening, I certainly had trauma. My childhood wasn't the best, and up till Joy helped me, I didn't even realize how bad that happens. It is very easy, especially as a child, to be put in situations that, as a child, you take as normal because that's all you've known, or that you were put in by adults that you loved and or respected. Getting out of that does a lot to undermine somebody's confidence, and it does include hypervigilance. So what I would say is you really need to well, first, okay. In melee combat, oh yes, please like and share, and plus mental and emotional safety measures. In melee combat, which I realize this is an odd term, but that's when more than two people are engaged, whether it's a sparring session or it's, you're in a physical altercation with more than two people. It can be quickly overwhelming. And what you have to learn is outward radiating circles of control. Okay? And you don't have to worry about the person who's way across the room. You worry about the person who's closest to you. Right? First. All of that comes to your breathing. Been there, still working on it. I feel it's good to try and be patient with the healing process. It can be hard sometimes. All this is training can be helpful. Exactly. So you want to treat the mental part first, because that's something you can work on immediately. By taking hypervigilance, you can direct it. You can take that energy just like anything and you can direct it. So part of it is you need to be aware of your stuff. Are you hyperventilating? Are you breathing fast? Are you holding your breath? You need to be breathing slowly and controlled. That's going to affect your heart rate. That's going to affect your hormones. Keep that nasty adrenaline from hitting when you don't want it to. All of it routes, everything begins and ends with breathing. Now, once you're breathing, you need to consider how you're thinking about the things, and that's what we're talking about. You can't let inaccurately negative thoughts go through your mind. And what do I mean by that? There is a difference between if I am walking to my car at night. Where I am, I live in a very rural environment. If I go out to my car at night, okay, you only got in your first physical fight 3 or 4 months ago. Okay, that is very traumatic. May I ask before I go? That's very. Excuse me. May I ask? Are you seeing a mental health professional before I go any farther with this? Because while I'm giving advice from my perspective, it is far better for you if you have the means to seek support from a mental health professional. Sorry, I have a speech impediment. But it's very scary. Helpful to focus more and recognize things. It isn't 100% foolproof, but it's good at least to try to give yourself some kindness when slip-ups happen. Yes. So, what you do is you train that energy. Kind of think of that as a puppy. Excellent. Excellent. Please take anything I say and feel free to speak with them and look for balance in this. But the first thing I would say is you want to treat your perspective. Okay? One of the big mental shifts is going from the mentality of a victim to the mentality of a survivor. I'll say that again. The mentality of a victim to the mentality of a survivor. These labels have power. Words have power. They have meaning. So, you want to be in charge of and aware of your surroundings. You want to be aware of your attitude. You are a dancer. I assume of no small skill if you're associating with Kitty, who I am to understand is quite a impressive dancer. That means some things. That means you know how to move around move your body at different angles without tripping. It means that you have spatial awareness. You know where you are relative to other dancers, relative to the situation where you're dancing, which not everyone has. I'm resisting the urge to poke mild fun at Thesis, but oh, Ruby, I understand, and I am sorry if I am too loud or if I am too dramatic. I have worked with people before who have been so scared that they spent the first many classes literally hiding behind their friends because they wanted to learn. And I will tell you that is very natural, okay? Especially if you were conditioned. Well, in that case, Thesis is a formidable Chinese martial artist of his own, and yet he lacked the tactical awareness and the situational awareness not to step off the edge of a stage and break his hip. So that means in many ways you are quite a bit forward of Thesis, who's quite formidable. And the thing I find with conditioning, because with conditioning against narcissists and groups that train you to fear and obey others, the only way to get past that is to be aware it's there and slowly begin finding places where you have space to expand into the shape that you are as a person. You fell onto the stage. My bad. But to do that, you have to be in a group surrounding where you are supported, which you will find very strongly in this chat. And you need to be able to quietly voice your messages. It can be done. I will tell you, Mandy, that's my wife. Amanda, you'll hear me reference her all the time. She gets mad when I say it, but honey, I am a short, fat, furry little man. Okay? I am about as intimidating as an Ewok without that whole funky face. And I have been there. And There are standing up, especially to men. I can understand how intimidating they can be. It can be intimidating. But when you start to okay, and it takes a lot of research and learning patterns type we have grown up thinking is normal. Okay. We can learn, and it is worth it to get that power back. Okay. I would recommend, if you're interested in this, reading The Simple Sword, realizing that the majority of the techniques in there can be transferred to a stick, roughly walking stick to cane size. Yes, and that's part of the training, and it saddens me to do that because I understand that. I really do. I have a lot of history with individuals who have addiction problems, and that has caused a great bit of turmoil at different points in my life. But what kills me is I am trying to write a book right now. I'm actively, my patrons have actually seen it, that is geared towards solving and addressing problems much like yours. The same kind of problems that I see over and over again, where people have had their personal power taken away. And it's oftentimes couched in things that should be good, in family or religion or morality, but then it gets warped by people who use it for their advantage. And it can be very hard to move through that. The simple physical thing is it's a lot to work through, but it is work throughable. Now, because I don't have a lot more time, and I am sorry, my stream is usually only an hour. I'm going to run over a bit, but I'm only supposed to sit in my chair for so long because of my back. But what I would do is, when, just as a mental exercise, is start doing little mental exercises to keep yourself engaged in the world around you. That is one of the best ways. And I don't mean jumping at every noise, because you'll still do that. I still do that. But not at every noise. You will still startle. That's a natural reflex. But start playing the what's wrong with this picture game. I have games I play mentally all the time. What's wrong with this picture? Now, because of my upbringing and some of my training and a few other things, it'll be things like spot the guy with the gun. Welcome to America. Who's angry? Who's most likely to be a problem? If I were a bad guy, where would I be? I play these games, and I put myself there, and then I avoid places that that trigger that, or I am aware of it, and I make decisions from that. Making sure you know where the exits are, because a lot of what happens is people will distract you. They'll either distract you from what's going on, or they'll distract you from how you are feeling. And you want to be centered, and you want to be aware. Now, that's why learning to fence helps, because learning to fence teaches advanced spatial awareness. It inoculates you to aggression. It will help with that by you're essentially practicing, and it will trigger you a little bit, and then you will learn to get better and better. I do hope you can stick around. I hope we can help. You are having a wonderful conversation with Sarah that I don't feel is necessary for me to broadcast. You think every guy is the bad guy. Okay. So what you need to learn is discernment. That's definitely going to be something you need to speak with your mental health provider with. And especially about that, phrasing things that way so that you can go where you need to go. I will say this, and it isn't the fluffy comfort a lot of people give, because I don't do the fluffy comfort a lot of people give. I prefer to be as gently honest as possible, but always honest and kind. If I have to be not nice to be kind, I will. Because for me, it's like, it may not be nice to say, hey, you got something stuck in your teeth, but it's kinder. And that's a very basic level, but it is a level. And even if you're not comfortable talking to me, there's some great people in the chat. I truly wish Trelena Bachman was here. She is a remarkable woman. She is my successor in the event anything happens to me, and fully able to give practices and things. I really would like to see if we can't make use of, and I can see that women are safe, because, even though it was a woman, and all men are scary. Men are all scary. I'm sorry, dyslexic. At least that's how I'm taught. I'm sorry. It does. I do not mean to be scary or intimidating, but there are several. If that's the case, if you are willing to, I will have. If you're willing to talk to Foxy or Thesis, although I know he's a man, I'm going to recommend that you make a connection with my friend Trelena. Because I understand that there are some cases where a male instructor is not comfortable. Now, please, please continue to watch this program. Please feel free to ask me anything. I know my background is disheveled. I am disheveled. And this is probably one of my least bright and shiny Hawaiian shirts, but I do assure you, I mean you no harm. And I will tell you, the vast majority of the world is apathetic. And I have found that if I say most people want your best interest, no, they don't. Your mind won't accept that. But understanding that most people are so caught up in their own issues, they don't notice each other, that might be easier for you to realize. I don't want you jumping from all men are bad and scary to most men aren't, because that's not necessarily the truth. I understand that a great many individuals who are of my obvious gender are not good people. And I'm sorry that you have to live in a world where all of them are that way. I certainly have met my share of unkind people. But I think if you can find a system to build your confidence and a bit of work to work on your perceptions, life will be very, very much improved. Today was not how I expected this program to go, but I hope I've been at least supportive of you. And I mean all of you. Thank you to the chat who allowed Ruby Room to talk. I appreciate that you let me kind of drop my intended. I hope we've started you a bit on a path. I would like to either have you reach out again to me, or I will try to get Trelena to reach out through Foxy, because I don't know if Trelena and Kitty are friends yet on like Facebook, but I would heartily recommend her. And it sounds like a lot of your journey is a lot like Sarah's journey, both in wanting to get into what we do and enduring traumas. So what I'm going to say is, for you ladies, please continue to reach out and make those connections. They are very positive. If there's any way I can at least broker, because I'm capable of doing something very few men are, which is brokering connections and then getting the heck out of the way. So I hope we can find someone to help you. But I do believe that one can learn a lot of confidence and control through the pursuit of martial arts, whether they're through the ones I expound or others, even something like Tai Chi. I don't know the details, but you should not feel bad about what you've done, because what you are doing, it sounds like to me, is surviving. It's finding a way to keep one's foot in front of the other, and that is nothing short of heroic. It's a far easier thing to give up. And I do also want to commend your courage in speaking through the chat to this program and to these people. So I would say, Kitty says Tai Chi would be a good outlet. She has a trained phobia of men. So at least that's what it sounds like to me. So I would look for a female Tai Chi instructor, preferably an all-female class. And you could start there. And what that'll do is it will help you with a lot of the things without the physical altercation, because it sounds like you have a lot of mental work to get to where you can build a basis to move on to the more physical work. And if you find me intimidating in any way, shape, or form, first off, please let me know, as you have. And like I said, I will direct you to the best females I know, and among them, Trelena is the best woman I know who doesn't have my last name. With that, guys, I've gone an hour 15. I need to how much I can save I start. Oh, okay. That sounds, that's nothing to be ashamed of. That is a natural trauma response. I hope that you've been able to move a bit past that, but please do not let morality or religion make you feel the need to, through guilt, hurt yourself. Okay? From a Christian standpoint, remember, everybody sins. That's why we need redemption. That's why we need faith. That's why we need Jesus to save us. It happens, and I do hope honestly that you and Sarah, that's Sarah S, can perhaps Kitty, if you could, through Facebook, because I believe you're friends with both Sarah, and I assume Ruby, you could reach out and possibly tag them on the same post so that they can make that connection. I think it would be good for both of them. And with that, guys, I'm sorry we got off the main topics. I can do a improvised self-defense kind of discussion next week if that's what you want. Let me know. With that, though, I do actually need to adjourn. I have to get some medication, and I need to be out of this chair. So with that, you can keep talking in the chat if you need to, but guys, do your drills. Keep your guard up. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, thank you for supporting your local sword master. I'm sure the chat in this one's going to keep going for quite some time. I want to put a huge thank you to Ruby for having the courage to come out and talk. And yes, it is training the mind. I'm sorry, I occasionally get messages I have to deal with. And that's part of my job as the guild master, as the sword master of the Historical Fencing Guild. There are things I deal with that you guys shouldn't have to. And I do my best to both deal with it, but sometimes I internalize it a bit. But, chair. Guys, thank you for supporting your local sword master. I will be back next week with more. Please consider my books. And I will also be streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the on the Nicholas Tucker YouTube channel. So I will see you all there. With that, have a great night. Toodles, folks.